This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
And I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Good evening, Jason Glick. How the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just coming off the fact that we're no longer at Funimation. We've got 25 more of these podcasts to go before we're back at Funimation.
Yes, is it not true? We're on the other side here.
Yeah, so if anyone was doubting that, I really, really like this convention after that mash note of a post I made last 2 weeks ago. No, really, we like Funimation that much.
Yeah, it's just always a lot of fun. What do you have in store for us tonight?
Okay, well, instead of crazy ass shit from Japan, I've got some really good stuff inspired by Japan. In fact, it's one of the longest running ongoing series at this point. After having run for over 30 years at this point. And I'm talking about Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo. I got the most recent volume of this series, or really the most recent storyline he's done. Before I went to Funimation and read it while I was at the convention and reread it earlier today. I'll be going on about Senso later on, but I just want to talk about the series itself before I get into that, because Usagi Yojimbo is it's got a deceptively simple premise. It's about a Ronin in 17th century Japan that is also a rabbit, and he lives in a world that is populated by all sorts of anthropomorphic characters. Talking rhinos, cats, bats, wolves, all that kind of stuff. And even if you look at this and say, oh, it's a silly talking animal comic. No, because you have to engage in this discussion whenever you talk about Usagi Yojimbo. No, it is not a simple talking animal comic. It's as the Dark Horse volumes go on about in every single volume, it is a masterful adaptation of samurai legend to sequential art. Because after you've been doing this for over 30 years, it's you accrue a certain amount of greatness just by virtue of existing that long. Now, Usagi himself, he's basically he's a Ronin, a masterful samurai after his lord Mifune was killed at the Battle of the Dachigahara Plain, and and ever since then he's just been just wandering the countryside, going on the warrior's pilgrimage to hone his skills as a samurai. And this leads him to all sorts of interesting troubles because he's a busybody. He loves to poke his nose in everything, whether or not it's the affairs of a bounty hunter rhino named Gen, a fox thief named Kitsune, the affairs of the God damn it, what's it called? Oh, the affairs of the kingdom that he's always working for. The Geishu clan. It's run by the panda Lord Noriyuki. It's and his ever capable assistant Lady Tomoe, who is also kind of a maybe might be love interest for Usagi. And also either when he's returning home, when he's encountering a bunch of people who've been killed, or fending off from bandits. It's there's all sorts of stuff that Usagi can get into that there's always a story to tell. And Sakai's aim with Usagi is basically to address every last little bit of Japanese culture and mythology in this series. So even though the series has run for over 200 issues at this point, he can literally keep doing this until the day he dies, because there's just so much stuff in the Edo period of Japan to recontextualize for American audiences, or just to make interesting stories of. In the meantime, just where they're talking about either just displaying the tea ceremony, talking about magic ink that makes kaiju, bringing in a baby Godzilla as your story, talking about the importance of the samurai swords, showing how they're created, talking about the training that someone must go to in order to become a samurai, the disrupting the bonds that people that samurai have with their lords. I mean, all this stuff, and Sakai, after 200 issues, 200 plus issues, I mean, like there's some familiar motifs and all, but he's never really gone and repeated himself. I mean, yes, I will concede that sometimes the storytelling can be simple. Sometimes like there are characters who will just hit the plot points right on their head to the point where hey, I know that. You don't need to spell it out for me right in the context of the story. But after going on for so long, Usagi accrues a simple amount of hey, it's a simple story. It's simple. It's simple execution. Belies consistency. I mean, I can probably count on one hand the times I've been disappointed by an Usagi story. Just the fact that hey, even if there were points where that's kind of like on the head, but at the same time just like a lot of the simple pleasure of a storytelling of a good story told competently and straightforwardly. It's like that earns you a lot of goodwill over when you do it as often and for as long as Stan Sakai has. I mean, it's like I'll always remember like the longer stories that he does, like Usagi Yojimbo Book 4, when the Dragon Bellow conspiracy, where Usagi has to team up with his buddy Gen, the blind swords pig Zato Ino, Tomoe from the Geishu clan, and the Neko ninja. There are several different ninja clans in Usagi. There's the Neko ninja, which are the cat ninja, the Komori ninja, which are the bat ninja with razor blades on their wings, and the Mogura ninja, which are the moles, who haven't been seen, I think, since volume 10, I believe. But that's kind of like breadth that he gives us series. But just that kind of story. It was his first extended storyline. It was just so much fun seeing all these characters that he's established come together and just bounce off each other for a story that basically had the fate of Japan resting in their hands. But for my money though, like the best one is the story that won Sakai the Eisner for best ongoing story, Grass Cutter, named after the sword that was one of the three national treasures of Japan. It's like this is a story about how eight feudal lords employed a witch to try and bring the sword back. It's like back from the depths of the sea so that they could try and restore the emperor to power and have themselves rule in his stead. As things work out, Usagi gets his hands on the sword first, and all sorts of fun chaos erupts from there. It's like, especially once his longtime nemesis Jay, the Blade of the Gods, comes into the story, and also with Tomoe and her lord Noriyuki wind up having to seek help during this storyline from a former general who once fought against Lord Noriyuki's father, but then had to hide out as a peasant in order to avoid retribution. It's a great epic storyline that has lots of moving parts. It's lots of future storylines, so including a direct sequel, Grasscutter 2, which you think okay, you've already established a series high point. You won an Eisner for it. Why would you go and do a sequel for it? But he actually sets up the sequel in the context of the story itself, because after they got Grasscutter back, what do you do with it after it's been recovered? You have to find a way to get it out of everyone's hands and prevent it from being used for ill. Later on, and so Usagi and his companions get the idea to just drop it off at Tsuda's shrine, where the imitation Grasscutter is being held, and so that the people will think that the real Grasscutter is now the is the fake sword, and prevent it from being misused for future purposes. But overall, a lot of these, Usagi Yojimbo's been going on for almost 30 years and almost 30 volumes at this point. In fact, I just think they're coming like on the next volume, which is 200 Jizo, um, that will be arriving. Yeah, volume 29. That will be out. See, a week from now, according to Diamond, and I'm not going to buy it because hey, I go to Comic Con. I can just get Volume 29 directly from Stan Sakai himself, which is awesome because he always all the books and stuff issues he signs, he has for sale at Comic Con are usually signed by the man himself. And yeah, if you're at Comic Con this year, definitely drop by his booth because he's a really nice guy, always open to talking about stuff as well. And before I start diving into Senso, one thing I want to mention is that Usagi is also one of the few series that I actually buy in single issue and trade paperback formats. This is all because that for years, the trade paperbacks he's adhered to a strict one trade paperback a year rule, which it's like which has eventually led, I guess, the his series to run far behind the serialized issues. So the thing is, when I heard that Jay, Usagi's supernatural nemesis, was coming back, I figured, okay, fuck this. I'm not going to wait for the trade paperback. I'm going to go buy this now because Jay, he's one of the few. I don't want to say super villains, but he's one of the few real antagonists who are villain or just straight up villains who actually still mean something in the comic book industry. Because after he appeared once in Volume 3 as kind of a guy who just like who was under the influence of the gods, just saying, "Oh, it's like the gods have decreed you, Miyamoto Usagi, like are evil and must die." And it's like you don't want to find one off. It's like, hey, like if we never saw this guy again, that'd be fine. But then he showed up in Volume 6, kidnapping this one kid, Jotaro, because the gods told him that he was the key to finding Usagi's weakness. And thing is, it turns out that hey, Jotaro is actually Usagi's son, and it's been an ongoing plot thread over the years that that even though they both know that Usagi knows that Jotaro is his son, and Jotaro knows that Usagi is his father, but they don't know the other guy knows that. And this all found its root in Volume 6. So Jay shows up and heralds this like big plot development here. Then he pops up again after Volume 6 in here and there, after he picks up this wandering ward known as Keiko, because Jay kills everyone except Keiko because for some reason he saw no evil in her, and she's been following him ever since because Jay killed her grandparent, and she has nowhere else to go. And then Jay shows up again in Grasscutter, and that shows you that this is a big fucking deal because he gets the sword, he's unable to reconsecrate it himself, and decides to take on Usagi just because he feels that hey, as soon as I kill this guy, I'll be worthy of my place amongst the gods. Jay actually undergoes this dramatic transition after the events of Grasscutter to the point where he has to take over another body, that of a swordswoman named Inazuma. And if I'm being honest, Inazuma, the Jay as Inazuma thread is probably the only time I've really been disappointed by Usagi, because after this thread is kind of played out, when it's played out in a way that like Inazuma, she's not entirely like Jay is kind of like he's fighting Inazuma's mind for full control over her body, and so you figured that this storyline would end with her, finally deciding no, it's like even after all I've done, I don't want to be the host to this evil demon who is doing what he claims is the god's will, and you figure that she would cast him out and be done with it. That doesn't quite happen, but the storyline that it does happen with actually has one of my favorite Usagi stories, in the sense it gives us something that I never ever thought we'd see, and that would be Jay's origin, which is a great bit of misdirection if you don't know what's coming. Which just forget everything I said right now, because that's you're not supposed to know that. Anyway, so that's So I mean, like that, like I said, that's like one of the few times I've been really disappointed by Usagi. Now, I wrote last year about how after like after a while off, Stan was coming back to Usagi after taking time off for personal reasons, and also to illustrate the 47 Ronin story written by Mike Richardson, Dark Horse's publisher. The story that he decided to come back with, Senso, I had deep misgivings about once it was announced. In the sense, it was supposed to be talk about how the final battle between Usagi and the Geishu clan against the evil Lord Hikiji and his army was interrupted by, get this, Martians. All of the Martians from H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. They just sent some scouts that wound up in feudal Japan and just completely stole the narrative away from Usagi and his his one of his longtime nemesis. It's now here's the thing: Usagi does not have a dedicated ongoing storyline. I mean, but at the same time, though, it has several recurring villains. Jay is one of them. Lord Hikiji is the other. And he's always working in the shadows, trying to find ways to overthrow the shogunate and take Japan, and secure rule of Japan for himself. So even though there's no real ongoing storyline, you'd figure that hey, if Sakai wanted to do like a big final balls out finale to Usagi, you realize that hey, that the story would have to revolve around one of these guys. Or maybe both, as I would think. Because I imagine that the final storyline would involve a game Jay, Lord Hikiji team up, like in the end. But no, that's not what happens. Senso, after having finally read it, it's like it's still got the same solid craft and attention to detail that Sakai is known for, like in terms of attention to detail in Japan, and also just like with his characters. So, Senso takes place 15 years ahead of the current time period that Usagi is currently set in. And we found out that Usagi has decided to hook up with the Geishu clan after all. In fact, Gen has hooked up with the Geishu clan as well, and even Jotaro is working for as well. So all the good guys working for the Geishu clan, and we found out that Lord Hikichi's schemes have finally been exposed, and now the shogun has ordered the Geishu clan to crush the rebels. And while the battle is kind of going, the battle goes difficultly at first, but then Gen and Jotaro help turn the tide, and then the Martians show up, and you get War of the Worlds, feudal Japan style. I'm not saying that this isn't an entertaining approach, and there's lots of interesting bits, from Usagi and Tomoe just addressing what their lives could have been like if they had actually finally confessed their love to each other, and also the many deaths that occur in the course of this story, including let's say if you were hoping that Usagi was going to have a final knockdown drag out battle with Jay, Sakai basically has that go. Yeah, that's not happening. In fact, Jay's fate is kind of it's almost kind of treated as a throwaway joke in this volume. Hikiji's fate is a bit more interesting, considering it pits him against his advisor, the Snake Lord Hebi. But it's like, I guess what it comes down to is Senso is that if you honestly didn't care about what the final Usagi Yojimbo arc was going to be like, then you're not going to have a problem with this. I mean, it's like Sakai basically probably looked at what he looked at the idea that hey, maybe his story would have to end facing off with Usagi face off against Jay or Lord Hikiji. Thought what would be more interesting? Oh wait, what if I did something completely different and had Usagi facing off against Martians? In fact, he basically almost says as much in the introduction to this volume, which basically is a 3-page fun fun 4-page comic, which has Usagi confronting Sakai over the idea of the Martians fight like being the main villains of the story. It's actually quite fun and quite clever, and like does a good job of it did a good job of alleviating most of my fears like for the story. But at the same time, I couldn't get past my overall feelings that this is that a lot that if there was any through line to be taken from Usagi so far, is that any kind of final conflict had to stem from the ongoing conflicts between Jay and Lord Hikishi. So I mean overall Senso was ultimately a disappointment. It's not bad by any means. I mean, a good Usagi story is still better than most other people's best efforts. And even then, there's a fun bit at the end where we find out about the secret weapon that's been prepared to take on the Martians. Which hey, if Bandai, if you're paying attention, I don't buy any Gundam models, but I would buy this thing that's featured at the end in the final chapter of Senso in a heartbeat. So hey, like get on it right now. Go read Usagi. That's all I can say. So, but at the same time though, Senso is kind of like the end of the cycle for Usagi. So we have the ending, and to be honest now, I don't want to sound morbid or anything, but Sakai, he's getting up in his years. So I just wondered, what happens if he dies before the series ends? But hey, now we've got the end of the series, so don't need to worry about what happens next. And true to form, Sakai has gone back to putting out Usagi on a mostly monthly basis. It's published 10 issues yearly from Dark Horse. And so, hey, you've got the final story. So, hey, we can just go ahead and enjoy the series it's like as it comes out again. So, I'm cool with that. At the same time, though, it's like, Senso, yeah, not all it could be, but definitely not a bad read. Okay. John, any thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I was. I don't know if you had discussed this, or I don't remember. There's so many different versions of Usagi Yojimbo that I seem to see out there. Are they all made by the same? They're all made by the Stan Sakai, right?
Yeah. Everything from Sakai, everything Usagi is comics wise has been from Sakai himself. I mean, it's the way it's worked over the years that volumes 1 through 7 were initially published by Fantagraphics. And they're still published by Fantagraphics today. Then Usagi went over to Mirage Studios, the Ninja Turtles guys at the time, and then he went over to Dark Horse, which has been his publisher for the last 2 decades now. I do want to bring up the Ninja Turtles connection a bit because Usagi was featured as an action figure first from Kevin, because apparently Kevin Eastman, one of the creators, Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird of Ninja Turtles, was a big fan of Usagi back when it debuted in the 80s, and said, and from what I hear, it's like he called up Sakai and said, "Hey, do you want your own action figure?" He said, "Sure." And apparently Usagi even got a guest starring role on an episode of the old Ninja Turtles cartoon from the 90s. And also it's worth noting that the first Dark Horse volume, Shades of Death, features an honest-to-God crossover between Usagi and the Ninja Turtles after they're summoned to Usagi's realm to prevent the capture of a rat sorcerer who can do the stuff that like summon the Ninja Turtles to Usagi's world. It's like it may come off as kind of like a cheap sales stunt, but it actually works really well. In the context of the story itself. The only drawback is that apparently it refers to a story that is exclusive to one of the old Usagi hardcovers called The Treaty, which apparently he met Leonardo for the first time. So that was actually quite cool though. So yeah, but yeah, basically everything has Usagi Yojimbo on the spine. Yeah, it's been written and illustrated by Sakai over the years.
Okay, well that sounds pretty cool. At least it gives me a place I know where I can kind of start, at least if I wanted to start reading these.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is that Fantagraphics says publishes this volume books 1 through 7 as single volumes. Dark Horse has begun republishing their volumes of Usagi as the Usagi Yojimbo Saga. So you basically get like multiple volumes in one.
Oh, well, that's
So
cool. That's
yeah,
definitely cool. All right.
yeah. So that's kind of like the trend. I mean, like, hey, you get more more for your money, and also retailers have less to track over the years, less to
Exactly.
track in inventory as well.
Exactly. Cool. Do you know what you're going to be talking about next week?
Well, we're going from samurai bunny rabbits in feudal Japan to spider pigs in the multiverse. The talking about Dan Slott and Company's big Spider Verse crossover.
Okay. Well, that sounds exciting, and we'll catch you all next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, later.
All right, bye.